The Infinity Nikki 1.5 update is synonymous with nearly destroying the game. Some even thought it would destroy the game, but it survived. Most live service games don't survive losing their community's trust. For a while, it looked like Infinity Nikki wouldn't. The reason Infinity Nikki survived 1.5 is because the players cared enough to fight for it, and the developers actually listened. So, what actually happened? I'm not here to break down everything that happened during 1.5, but the gist is there were bugs, lots of bugs. Some people couldn't even log into the game. Others were experiencing odd glitches. At the same time, they added additional pieces to the 5-star outfit, making it harder to complete. And the new dying system was overly complicated. They also unnecessarily reworked the intro, and there were issues with rewards that led to a loss of trust. The community was frustrated, rightfully so. This culmination of disappointments led to the world's first ever girlcott. People were upset because they loved the game. Why the backlash mattered. The general sentiment was not about wanting a perfect game. Players just wanted respect and communication. And most importantly, for the game that they loved to be treated with care. I asked in the comments of my last video if there are any games comparable to Infinity Nikki. Unfortunately, we couldn't land on any alternatives. There really aren't any alternatives to Infinity Nikki. When Apex would have a bad update or was hacked, we would just play a different FPS. But cozy games create a different kind of emotional attachment than FPS or competitive games. I feel like the lack of alternatives added to the concern. Infold's response. The immediate response was touch and go for sure. Players were compensated, of course. However, the lasting response has been far more impactful. The cost of banners has remained stable. There have not been major changes to monetization. It really seems like Infold prioritizes communication and listening to community feedback. It really seems like Infold has learned from their mistakes. So, how do you save a gacha? You listen to your community. They are lucky because they have a truly incredible community. In my last video, the comments were full of community members writing paragraphs about how much they love the game and how much it means to them. Infinity Nikki really showed us why the response matters more than the failure itself. A moment to talk about the bugs. I am a girl in STEM, heavy on the T. Learning programming has given me empathy for how difficult game development is. I genuinely cannot wrap my head around the frequency that they are updating this game. Each update contains new areas, story, outfits, minigames, and game mechanics. They have to add all of this into an already massive program and implement it across multiple platforms. I am honestly impressed that the game-breaking bugs don't occur every update. Last week, I had to code a super simple game for one of my classes. I was up until 4 a.m. because the spacing on one line was off. And this was less than 100 lines of code. I have a lot of empathy for bugs because I know how terrible it feels when something is wrong with your code and you just can't find where the issue is. I cannot try to comprehend what it would feel like working on a massive live service game with millions of upset players and having to fix the bugs. I truly think that it's a good thing that this happened early on in the game's life. Infinity Nikki was still a relatively new game during 1.5 and had already made a great first impression, so we knew what it was capable of. Sometimes, established games ignore criticism and become complacent. Since Infinity Nikki was still establishing itself, it was able to make improvements and rebuild trust. Anyone who was involved in the criticism actually helped save the game. I think everyone just wanted to see the game succeed, and the company learned that we don't prioritize cute outfits over trust and respect for our time and money. Since I mentioned my last video, I just wanted to say that this video was inspired by the responses on my last video. One comment in particular really made me think about this topic nonstop. It said, "One thing that is positive that came out of the 1.5 disaster is that two-way communication between the players and devs are working constantly. The community of Infinity Nikki are critical and vocal, and the developers listen and work hard to improve the game. Infold learned the hard way during 1.5, 1.6, and 1.7. Just because it is meant for the girls doesn't mean that they can just half-ass it and charge a high price on the game. I'm not trying to say the game is perfect now, but the relationship between Infold and the community is healthier, and it is because both sides cared enough to fight for it." I did stop playing for a while just due to life being busy, and it did happen to be around the 1.5 debacle, but coming back to Infinity Nikki has made me fall in love with it all over again. So if you happen to be someone that left during 1.5 and have just been feeling something missing in your life, sounds so dramatic, but if you've been thinking about giving it another chance, I would highly recommend you do so. The newer seasons have been so much fun. The outfits are beautiful and gorgeous. I really think that there is not one single complaint towards the creative team whatsoever, nor has there ever been. It seems like they have always put a lot of passion into the project, and it's just genuinely so fun to play. But I'm not gonna gush too long about how much I love it because I did a lot of that in the last video. So just give it another shot for yourself and come to your own conclusions about the game. And if you can think of a game that is comparable to Infinity Nikki, please let me know, because I've been trying to find one and I've been doing a really bad job. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you don't agree with me, that's totally fine. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Thank you all so much for all the support on my last video. I really appreciate it. Please consider liking and subscribing. I'd really appreciate that too. I hope you all have a good day.